So the time for us to beat today is 1 hour, 22 minutes, and 32 seconds. Should be very possible. My routing should be significantly improved. I've deleted some things that are unnecessary. I know there's way fewer people I need to talk to. I did a lot of extra things because I wasn't sure what we need. So, I start a new game. I'm not going to spam through this dialogue here, just so that people can get a sense of what the story is, because otherwise we're going to skip like all the dialogue. So, I'll get you a sense of what the story is first, and then time will begin once we come out of a black scene at the end of this dialogue. Alright, why are you doing this to me? Vacations are good, Mia. Normal people take vacations. Buh! This is the top-rated vacation planet in the whole quadrant. Tickets were not cheap, Mia. Maybe we can still get a refund. You're going to relax. You're going to make some new friends. Orange is her friend Quinn, by the way. And you're not even going to think about work. Oh no. This is crazy. My engines. They're super broken. Mia? I have to make an emergency landing. Mia! You're Quinn. Alright. Then as soon as we come out of this black scene, we start. Oh yeah, I forgot. Text. Oops. Alright. Alright, so we have to fix our Gleam Collector so we can start with repairs. She notes it's a good thing that she did not leave. Oh, shoot. Okay, that was like 5 that went in. Good thing that she didn't leave her Gleam Collector or her blaster at home, because she kind of is going to need that. Mia does not take vacations. Mia works hard, or at least that's what we're going to stick with for now. She will learn as we go on the importance of resting and all of that. So we need... I just have to keep an eye on my blaster here. It's quite slow at the start. We need a total of 15 cores, 10 rock, 95 flora. So we need quite a few flora, which are these... Oh. For Mia? Mia is fine. Mia's been having good breaks lately. So flora are these things here that we're collecting. We have to be very careful not to break a certain thing. We're going to break her garden because it's faster. I'm going to go up this way. We're going to grab this. Get some shiny bolts. Those are useful. Okay, so I see a routing fix I need to make, which is... straight up this way earlier. We're gonna get this because this is gonna give us some cores. That gave us 15. Beautiful. It gives us all the cores we need, actually. We also have an ability to jump. There's a tutorial down south of us that we're going to skip because we already know how to jump. But it would teach you, like, the mechanics of doing it. Yeah, we're gonna get that later. Alright, this fellow's name is Chess. He's a fellow pilot. He also got crash landed on this planet. We need to make a thing for him. Let me just check. So we're gonna head over this way. There's some resources over here we need to grab. This is a very cool place. This is a tree monument. Monuments are very cool. Unfortunately, the stuff related to them is not needed for this run, so we won't be dealing with it. But very, very cool. And I would like to figure out a category that would make use of the monuments. And my blaster got too hot, so I'm gonna check. Okay, so we have We have enough flora. I'm just going to quickly grab these ones here because we will need a little bit more later. And if we collect more now, all the better. Oh, blaster got too hot. So we're quite slow at the start. Quite slow. Which is fine. We shall speed up soon. Alright. And actually... I forgot. We need to get these crystal roses too. So that's something I need to make sure I wrote in, because those crystal roses will be very beneficial later. As you can see, we are a little bit speed limited because each jump basically requires a full battery. We're also going to go up there and get those because ores, which these crystals are yeah, that was the hardest thing I had trouble with in the first run. I've changed up the order of some things I do this time. We'll see if that helps. Alright, so we're gonna do a little quest over here, which is super fast, super easy. Alright, this guy's Cosmo, he's the bridge builder. He's gonna build lots of different bridges and shortcuts for us. We give him 2 rock glems, which we've already collected, and he'll build this nice little bridge, which isn't super useful for us, but then we have to talk to him again. He'll give us some more, which is very handy. I check I have just enough rock. Perfect. We're going to craft boots. And we're going to craft the chair. Speak to him quickly, because he's relevant for endgame. Alright. Now, we make the very long journey back to Chase. Not Chase, Chess. Up here. Okay, this is the first split. We are going to... Oh, I always forget we gotta go up here. Do this puzzle quickly. So give us some more resources, which are needed. And then we're gonna go over here and we're gonna do a couple of things quickly. We're gonna go inside this spiral. Grab these cores. This could maybe... I'm still figuring out where the best time is to do these, but... Figure that out. And then this crystal cherry apple thing. We're gonna break it. We go down here. And we have a bonus puzzle room. Which you might be thinking, why are you gonna do bonus puzzles? Don't you want to go fast? Well, the bonus puzzles, each one you do gives you 1/3 of a battery piece. If you do 3 of these puzzles, you get a full battery piece. Or a full battery, which currently I think is going to be faster to do than to buy another 100 than trying to route in 100 more cores, especially early on. This will get us our 3rd battery quite quickly. Alright, I'm going to test something. Can I break this without speaking to you? Yes, I can. Good. Ah, I let go a little too soon. I panicked. Right. Alright, so he gave us the map, so we don't need to do the pre-dialogue with him, which is good to know. Alright, and we have 100 crystals now, or 100 cores. You'll see those down to the right of me. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to this guy quickly. He's the mechanic. He's going to call Cosmo, the bridge builder, who's also the ship tower, apparently. I'm gonna move the ship up here. The ship is gonna stay here for the rest of the game. A lot of problems. We need 4 cores. We have to go up to, let me buy this quickly. There we go, that's a speedy beat. I'm gonna buy these quickly as well. And then we're gonna do this. Talk to this guy, he has bolts, we give him bolts, he gives us beautiful, beautiful gems. Or cores, I believe is what the official name is for them. Alright, so on to our second area. Mayor Bear and his 3 children. He needs some assistance. We're gonna help him out. Children scatter. Alright, now we need a few more resources. We need... By the time we finish the next 2 sections, we need... 35 cores, 75 flora, 50 rock, and 50 light, which these rocks here, weirdly enough, the rocks don't give you rocks, they give you light. Alright, so we're gonna just kind of wander around here, get some things, some more bolts. Right here, we have another puzzle. Oh. Push that one up a little bit. To the middle, and... That's 2 battery pieces now. Alright, we're gonna grab this quest. This very friendly mushroom has a little birdie friend called, Bucky. Who, he keeps losing. So we're gonna help him out by finding Bucky for him. Even though Bucky's sitting on his head right now, Bucky's gonna fly off, and we're gonna go find Bucky for him. Just gathering some more of these because, like I said, I need 75 flora, and there's flora in this region and not the next. 32, so we'll need a reasonable bit more, but that's okay. Oh, gotta let that recharge quickly. Oh, that gave me some rock. We need 50 light. Okay, so I gotta double what I have. We have a bear. Bear's gonna run away from us. Which is fine because that encourages us to head in this direction. Which takes us to Navigation Core. And now, little bear is back. Send him home. That, I think, is the way out. Yeah, I think that was the way out. So we're gonna go over here quickly. We're gonna do this puzzle. some more light and cores. Okay. So we need one more light rock. There's a bear. I'll get some more. There's a lot of resource gathering near the start here. I know it's not the most interesting to watch. We're gonna slip in here. We're gonna grab that. Okay, that's you. Okay, so we have enough of that. Now, where's the third bear? I don't remember where the third bear is. Are you over here? Let that recharge. This should only take 2 batteries. Yeah. But I had to be at full. Oh right, the other bear is in town. Forgot about that. Grab that. Alright, so that's all of them. Yes, we want to buy this. It's very, very cheap, so it's worth buying. Yeah, so he's the shortcut builder. Ooh, and then this way... Nearly forgot which direction I was going. Nah, he's not mad. It's fine. He's going to give us... money for babysitting, because apparently we were babysitting. Then up past this big tree. And into the Painted Desert, which is a very cool area. We have to pause here and wait. This gives me a second to check. Okay. So I need to go to the left now. So this is Gal, this big giant robot. We have to help Gal. So we'll help him. We're just going to take us a second to get over there. Yeah, Gal has not been feeling well for like a few hundred years. Grab that. Pretty much anytime we see one of these big crystals, we have to grab it, and I let go just a second too quickly, which is not good. Let us... Very slow. Okay. Okay, then it's over here somewhere. Right, the toolbox. Oh, and then it's up there. That's right. These puzzles are faster than running around and trying to gather resources, so... Worth doing. We're just gonna leave him there. He's fine. He's just bemoaning the fact that he crashed again. There is a quest you can do to help him get the ship fixed again. But he's just gonna crash again, because he's going to eventually tell us that there's an issue. Now, he's going to eventually tell us that there is an issue, and that this issue is that there's something preventing anything from leaving the atmosphere. And that same thing is causing ships to crash on this planet. So then we'll go fix that at the very end. Go deal with that. Because we want to get home. Alright, which one is misadjusted you? There we go. That's battery completed. Alright, out we go. So now we have 3 batteries. Very nice, very nice. Alright, Bucky is not up here, but that's fine. We're gonna grab this. Bucky is... where is Bucky? Where is that bird? Alright. Here's our construction buddies again. Alright, things got exploded. We have now landed up here with this, big pile of goop. I'm gonna stand really close to it because I'm gonna need to be close in a minute. Okay. That is the fuel core. And if you hadn't figured it out yet, we got blown up onto Gal, the giant robot, who's not been doing well, and the reason why there's, like, pink paint everywhere. There we go. Boop-a-doom. Thank you. There we go. Chopped these guys. Okay. I thought they gave money for that, but apparently they don't. Where is Bucky? Bucky! I need to find the bird before I can go back. So we're gonna run up here quickly again. Need to grab something up here. Need to get this crystal rose. And I need to remember where Bucky is. Oh, I need to let my blaster charge up. There we go. Get some more cores. We're at 177. We need 235 cores. We also need more paints. Check. Yeah, we need 50 paint, so... well, we're looking for Bucky, because I can't remember where he's supposed to be. Bucky! Where are you? You're up this way. I think you're over here. Bucky's somewhere. And this is what I mean about there being time saves available. Okay, that should be... yeah, that's plenty. Where is that bird? Bird, where are you? Now, the only thing I'm wondering about is, have I accidentally skipped some bit of dialogue that is necessary to trigger Bucky being up here? I'll talk to you. Okay. Just to see if that triggers the bird to show up now. Is that bird? Okay. Oh, there's a toolbox down here. Where's the bird? Huh. Okay. That's a little weird. Alright, so that's unlocked. Come back in. See if a case if he spawns now. So I'm pretty... There he is. Okay, so I need to leave the area and come back and get him. Okay. Fuel core. We need 235, so we need a few more cores. We also need more rocks. Oh no, I'll have enough the second I return. Okay. Let me check. We need 50 rock, 50 light, 75 paint, 75 floor. Okay, so we have to go back into the woods anyways, so let's do that. Grab those. No, it's over this way. Back into the woods we go. We got a hand in Bucky. No, that's the wrong pathway. The woods are very easy to get lost in. There is a map, and the map can be helpful. I'll use the map when we get down. Okay, here is the right path. This way. I'll be using the map when we get down to the Coral Ocean, which is the next area we're going to unlock now. Just after I make sure we have enough materials. I'm also going to see, I think I can break that with 3. $75 floor, 50 rock, 50 light, 75 paint. No, okay, that's a 4 one. Okay, so I need... Let's finish cleaning you up. I need more rock. What here gives rock? We're gonna get too many light, but that's okay. These give some rock, usually. Let's break you. Okay, that's not very much rock. I know there's another rock over here. Let's break this one. 50 rock. Yeah, I might have some rock left over still. I don't recall. That's the one problem, is resource gathering early, because you have to add the resources in. Alright, so there's a cutscene, which, as far as I know, is not skippable. The friendly little apple is trying to encourage us to relax and chill. Except Mia doesn't really do that. Oh, it's 250. Shoot. Okay. Good thing we have lots of bolts. We should have enough. Yes. That should be plenty. Alright. I'm gonna buy the jetpack. Alright, now we're gonna try and upgrade everything. Let's hope we have enough materials. Okay. We're short a few. Alright, we're gonna buy the boots. Then we do need the rock. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come down here super quickly. And there's rock over this way. Oh yeah, this crystal rose, we needed that too. We need how many rock? Not very many. I'll take this big one here and that should be enough. We needed 7. I'm gonna break one more just to be safe. Also, I'm very happy to see I've like halved the time already. Because, so what got me the first time was I ran into issue with not having enough money to buy the jetpack immediately. For blaster, there we go. Alright, and now, do we need that? No, we're not going to take that quest. I had trouble getting enough to obtain jetpack because I made the mistake of installing all of the cores. I've rerouted because I think it's going to be faster to just install all the cores at the end. There's nothing requiring cores to be installed first. Oh, right, we're here at the Coral Ocean. Movement mechanic is very cool. We are looking for something called Chicken Island, which I think is over this way. There's the bonus island, but we don't need that. There we go, here's Chicken Island. We're gonna grab the chicken, shaped like a friend. And then we're actually gonna make a pit stop at this island because look at all these crystals. You'll notice we're not collecting any coral. That's because it realistically does not make sense to route in such a way that you have to... Yeah, it doesn't make sense to upgrade further than double upgrade on boots, one on blaster, at least as far as I can tell. The benefit you get from the upgrades does not seem to be worth the amount of time it takes to gather the resources to do so. Alright, this one should hopefully be breakable with 3. I'll try it one more time. Oh yeah. Alright, that's a nice number. Alright, we're here. And now we have to listen into this conversation. The guy who runs away doesn't totally agree with the townsfolk because he's a bit of an inventor, solo dude. So we offer to go talk to him for him. Grab this. We're gonna jump out here because he's off on an island somewhere, and unfortunate spawning, he's not right there. Which means he's on this big floating island. You know what? I'm gonna try something. This is where you get a bit of RNG. Okay, so there's Friend Island. So he's probably going to be over here somewhere. Yeah, we're gonna keep going this way. No, that's the Wizard Island. Here's his island. Alright, so he's on an island that will float around and go places. I talk to him. He needs help. He wants a chicken. We give him a chicken. He's like, what am I supposed to do with it? He's frustrated. Finally offers us a proper job. And we have to help destroy coal for him. Or break the bomb, because that destroys everything. It doesn't give us anything back. Oh, never mind. That's fine. We want stars. Don't mind me taking... Oh, that's a lot of bombs. Okay, so that's 200. Oh yeah, he's frustrated because his world was destroyed, so they've moved here. Okay, he's got a thing. He's agreeing to sort of work with the others. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we need a total of... we need to do his quest until we have about 1,000, cores. So we're going to do this minigame a few times, and the reason I'm doing this instead of some of the other quests is it's 60 seconds long each time, so it's a guaranteed length, and for the amount of time it takes, you can get the most benefit out of it. Especially when you get the star upgrade. Oh, we're just gonna let this explode. I was unlucky. Okay, so it was almost 200. Which is fine. We're gonna gather that. Let's do that again. Probably need to do it a couple more times. It's too slow. And you can see up there how many cores I'm getting out of this. 200. Beautiful. Okay. I'm gonna do it one more time. The reason we're wanting about 1,000 is we'll need to do all the upgrades. Oh yeah, we should be just fine. We're already at 100 and we're half time. Oh wow, that's a lot of cores I just got. Beautiful. So it should take me to over 1,000. Beautiful. Perfect. Let's go. Alright, so back up we head to the town. Oh, he's here again. So that's the thing. His island floats around. I haven't quite figured out how to predict where exactly he's going to be. Gonna check. Okay. Okay. He's gonna give me a seed, I think. Which we don't need. Okay. Oh. We'll grab Bucky quickly. Interesting. I need to check on something then. Yeah, we'll take the hole. Because that'll be faster. So what I wanted to do was take that statue. But couldn't do that because the guy wasn't there, which I guess is because I didn't speak to him earlier, so that's a note. That in order to ensure you have that piece of dialogue, you need it. That's okay though. I can show you the bridge, which is very cool. Off to the right there, as you may have seen, is a very large hole in the planet. Don't mind the giant sleeping beat. We'll deal with him in a minute. Let him give me some more. Beautiful. Alright. And we need to buy this. And off we go. Over this way, we need... Alright, so we're gonna go to Shatter Zone. This is the final area. I'm gonna pick up the final core, which is called the Crystal Core. My splits are missing that name, because... Alright, so we gotta talk to this guy. His name is Luke. He reminds me a lot of the dev's self-portrait. Okay. On top of that, we need... Alright. Alright, so we're going this way first. Basically, that guy there, Luke, he runs a hat shop. But he's not having any more customers. And so we are delivering 3 hats to him, to folks who live around here, as some free promo. These really cool glowy things give us what are called multi-glems. But we don't need any multi-glems, so no multi-glems for us. On that. And then I'm still figuring out routing for this area, so we might wander in some weird directions. There's the person. Can we jump? Oh, actually, that's a fast trip. Interesting. This island will take us... Nope. We gotta go up. There's another bonus core section. We don't really need more cores. Right, this will take us here. Poor robot has rain. We got a little umbrella hat. That we don't need, so we gotta go this way. No, wrong island, so we gotta come off here. Right, you... Grab the ship. Alright, and then up to the third person. We need a rancher hat because he's going to become a slime rancher. Alright, so we need to check back in, but before we do that, we're gonna head to the right. And see, because I know there's a big field of crystal cores here, and we are short by several. There's a few things we can do to help get more if we need to, but it'd be easier if we can just find the field with all of them. Instead of having to jimmy rig about. I will do all of those once I finish the run 10, because I don't have sound effects set up on this scene. There we go. Very nice, we gotta wait. So here's one big chunk. There's another big chunk somewhere. It's over to the right, I believe. Okay. Noir! Hello! How are you? Can I get a shout out for Noir? How was, horror game? Oh, can I not jump back? Oh, shoot. I just soft lock myself? Okay, well, we're gonna find an alternate route out. Hi. Welcome on in, Raiders. You don't know what you just played. Okay. Sounds promising. There we go. Oh, I was scared for a second that I'd softlock myself. And I did not want to have to DM the dev again and be like, so I broke your game. Again. Alright, so here we go. He's got line. So we got a hat from him, which is beautiful. Crystal core. There we go. Stop breaking the game? Yeah, I know, I know. Okay, so we need 850. There's more there. Yeah, how was stream? For those of you who don't know me, Raiders, my name is Sel. I am a variety... Hang on, I'm... Thanks. Sel, member of the Selcouth Collective, a dissociative system, exclamation mark, multiplicity. For more information on that. We're playing Lost Nova right now. We're speedrunning it. Very cool game. Like, it's 10 out of 10 game. If you enjoy cute, cozy, otherwise really lovely games. We have 6 of them. Okay, that's fine. Games. We're gonna test something here. You should check it out when it's not being speedrun, because it is incredibly cozy and very wholesome. And like super pro mental health stuff. It's a great game. It's Yeah, we are speedrunning right now. This is, as far as I'm aware, I am the first person to speedrun this. And this is a route that I have figured out myself. Oh, we have Bucky too. Oh shoot, why did I do that? We have Bucky. Okay. Yeah, Bucky will be faster at this point. Because that will give us all we need, because we need 350 cores. Yeah, look if you want to lurk, chat if you want to chat, make yourselves at home. Alright, so down here, this way. Alright, Bucky's home. There we go, more than 350. So far, as you can see, I am significantly improving on my previous best time. Yeah, that would have been a lot faster if I'd just gone straight up, but... Okay. Okay. Now we're gonna put all 4 cores in. This will be slow. We got some cutscenes. Also gonna look a little bit funny because I'm playing on a widescreen. Oh yeah, he's gonna tell us to check out each place. We've already been to each place. I'm playing on an ultra-wide. This game is not intended for ultra-wide, so... Oh, that was... broken. Okay. That was interesting. Okay. And then... 500. Why did I think I needed 550? Oh, no, that's right. We were over. We had a few more than we needed. And once that's in... That's the ship fixed. Yep, the planet won't let us leave because there's an electromagnetic thingy. And now we're going to go through quite a strange... Oh, I couldn't have done that anyways because the person I needed to talk to is here. So Bucky would have been the faster, safer move anyways, since I already had him. This princessy person there has a house in the Painted Desert. And you collect the crystal roses for her. And if you give her 7, she'll give you a bunch of cores, but she'll also give you a bonus battery. Alright, so we're good friends with Quinn. We're chatting about stuff. You know that Quinn works hard, has a lot of success. We wonder, you know, we work hard. When are we going to get some success? Which... strange thing. And then talking about her father. Mia seems to be the oldest. Father's super busy. You have to spend a lot of time with other family members, but Dad was busy, and he gave up a lot to help his kids. So, in exchange, we've always felt the need to work hard. Alright, so we gotta unbreak this. Now we're heading to the ending section. We're doing this on 3 batteries, which I guess is possible. Very close. Oh, we could have just broken that too. And that would have been faster. So you can break that early. Noted. So actually, I don't think crystal roses are necessarily needed at all. I'm gonna try something. There's a bunch of people you're supposed to, like, talk to along the way, and they've been super grateful for your help, and... you know, they talk about, you know, how you've reminded them of it's important to work together, and ask for help when you need it, to take breaks. I'm gonna see if I can just skip all of their dialogue, because it's a little slow. Which is why I say, absolutely, get this game, play it casually. It's amazing, the story's fantastic. The dev is amazing. Don't mind me getting lost. Oh. Let's get up here. Yeah, so you can skip the dialogue. Cool. Alright, can I remember the correct path? So the reason I'm calling this the category for this run True Ending is because throughout the start of the game you're led to believe that the game will end once you fix your ship. Except it kind of doesn't work that way, as we've discovered. Oh wow, okay, so those people only show up, most of them, if you had dialogue with them earlier. Interesting, so yeah, you can just skip all the dialogue. If we go here... Alright, now for a very cool scene. It's... our nice, friendly, fuzzy worm friend. Inside the planet. He's the one who has formed the energy barrier. What happened was a ship hit the place originally, it was too big, broke the planet, and then he's been, for a few thousand years, sitting there, holding the place together with his energy skills. So we're gonna go help him. Because he needs a break, but he feels responsible to continue to hold the place together. Alright, now we get a series of cutscenes, which feels like a really funny way to end the speedrun. We see Mia, we see her going back. She's talking to different folks. We got the repair guy, we have the artist bot who we didn't talk to. He's really cool. Really smart with mechanical stuff, electronics. They work together. Did something with our ship. We go see our buddy. And... magic energy. And as we can see, the planet is slowly coming together. Also, I just realized I'm going to get a sub-hour time and I'm very excited. So we got all these different characters, most of whom we didn't meet. But they're very cool. Like I said, play this casually. You will get to meet all of the fantastic characters. The dialogue is amazing. It's so good. That's the one thing that's a shame about speedrunning. This is... oh, we use her ship. That's what we use. She sacrifices her ship to help the friend. And then the people of the planet give her this nice, new, beautiful ship. I just figured out what the story was there. So yeah, now she's gonna fly past. There's a little statue of her in town. All these people we didn't speak to. There's Luke and all the folks out there in Chatter Zone. Their hats. There's the folks down in the ocean, now working together to build a nice new home. And there's our friend! Alright, off we go. And time ends. One year later. I might shift that ending to be at the end of that one, but yeah. Sub 1 hour. Oh! And there's improvements that can be made in the route too, still. Oh my goodness. Ah!